Actually, my speech pretty much is my bio, so I'll just go through it. But first of all, I want to say someone earlier had said, "Thank God for LinkedIn," right? But this is something bigger than LinkedIn that brought us together, with this common message and community feeling that has evolved and happened. I just want to thank each of you for who you are and what you're doing. This is just phenomenal, and I'm so blessed to be connected with each and every one of you and all you're doing. It's hard to think about all the problems that are going on in the world when there's all you beautiful people doing these positive, wonderful things. It should be better than it is by now, but we're going to make that happen. So, to tell my story, I'm going to start by a moment when I was sitting in church in the same pew with my family, where we always sat. And we were watching the children's choir. And these little 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds were just singing beautifully in all different sizes and shapes and genders and hair colors and eye color and just these beautiful little children. I was a freshman in college at the time, and I was home for the weekend visiting my family in Minnesota. And the college that I was attending had the philosophy that you declared your major in your freshman year. This was first quarter, and my guidance counselor had just told me, you need to declare your major by Monday. Well, I hadn't decided what that was that I was going to go into. So of course all these thoughts were going through my head. Now it's Sunday morning, and I still don't know what I'm going to declare on Monday. So I'm looking at these children sitting there, and I get choked up every time I tell this story still. And I looked at those kids and I thought, just this thought just popped into my head. And I thought, all of those children's parents don't know all they could know to help these kids become all they could become. I was so inspired by that thought that just came to me. I knew in that second I wanted to do everything I could to help those kids become all they could become. So I decided to go into early childhood education. And I don't know really the reason why I intuitively knew I wanted to start as early as possible, but I did. I knew I wanted to reach those kids in whatever way I could as soon as possible. So I got a bachelor's degree in early childhood education and started by teaching kindergarten. So I taught kindergarten for 10 years. And it was during that time, while I was teaching kindergarten, that the thought was still there. The thought was coming back to me. No matter how good a job I do in this classroom with these kids, it's still the parents that are having the major influence on these children's lives. So I wanted to reach out to those parents and support them, provide information for them in any way that I could. And at that time, this was a long time ago, and it's been very pleasant that many people have been quite surprised by my age this weekend. I kind of like that. But this was a long time ago, and parent involvement wasn't something that was talked about or promoted much at all. Parent involvement at that time was one mom sent cookies for the Halloween party, and that was pretty much parent involvement at that time. So I branched out and started doing workshops and presentations on how to get parents more involved in their children's education and support learning. And I had so many parents of the children in my classrooms asking, what can I do to help my child? And I'd say, just make learning fun. Make learning out of anything you're doing throughout the day. Well, like what? They had no ideas of what to do. So I started writing out ideas and sending home weekly newsletters with suggested activities for things that kids could do at home, or parents could do at home with their kids, and work it into everyday life, because there's learning in everything. So I started sharing that, and from there, Well, the little side story is that it got to the point where kindergarten was no longer what I believed kindergarten should be. I did, while I was there, I was able to eliminate the 5 workbooks that the kids had to do. Yeah, and that was even back then, and now it's much worse. In fact, I have a great discussion going on that in my group on LinkedIn. Anyway, so I knew no longer I could be in that position. I needed to do something bigger and broader. So I started what I called Family Network. And it was in the community that I lived. And it was a way that we reached out and were able to connect the entire community in support of families. And it was just great fun, and I won't go into the details of all that. But from there, I then coordinated a family literacy program. And again, what a fabulous opportunity that was. I did that for 12 years, and it was a program that provided adult basic education for adults needing high school completion. We had an early childhood program, so the kids were coming to school with their parent and seeing their parent role modeling the importance of education, and they were getting a good start on their education right at the site. And then we had what officially was supposed to be called parent education, but I called family development. I like that terminology much better. Because a family develops right along with the child. We have child development, well, the family's developing right along with that child. So, and I think parenting, sometimes the term parent education gives the connotation that you need something that you don't have. We have to provide it for you. So anyway, this was a wonderful program. We also provided ESL classes. And this was a program that was filled with diversity, and I loved it. We had 50 different countries represented and 40 different languages in this program. And so we had socioeconomic levels and gender and race and ethnicity and religion and every kind of diversity there is, and it was fabulous. It was during that time that I was coordinating this family literacy program that the brain research started coming out. I got so excited when this started coming out, you can't believe. I thought, oh, all right, here we go. Now we have scientists talking about the importance of early education and the early years. Scientists are saying, it's not just us early childhood people saying it anymore, so now everybody's gonna sit up and take notice and know how important this is, right? Exactly. So I tried to learn everything I could and get my hands on. And Marlene's right, it has evolved, and there's just so much coming out continuously. But what I wanted to share was the basics of brain development, the early brain development, and what's going on, because my focus is, and my emphasis is, let's do the prevention. I got cheerleaders back there. Let's do the prevention. Let's develop these brains as healthy as possible in the first place. Let's do all we can. And guess what? It isn't all that complicated. So I started sharing that within my family literacy program and the people that I was working with. And it was a national program, so I was connecting with people throughout the country and just trying to spread this information. Of course, the funding ran out for the program. So I then had the opportunity to work with an advocacy agency, the Wisconsin Council on Children and Families. I now live in Wisconsin. And I had that opportunity, and my role was to go around the state and do presentations on how children's brains develop, with the idea that if everyone would understand what is happening in these early years and we can do these positive things, we have this wonderful opportunity, we'll get funding and support and recognition and everything that we need for these young kids. So it was wonderful. We had success in educating a great number of people. We worked at educating politicians and funders and everyone we could. Again, the funding ran out. I was just telling at lunch that in addition, so I was doing these presentations, but in addition, I wanted to come up with a way to go back to that parent, reaching that parent population, and providing a way that this could be practical and hands-on and fit into everyday life. So I started creating what I call brain development activity packets, which some of you may have seen I had displayed outdoors. I have some of them up here. And I started developing the first one, which is Love Your Baby, which happens to be my personal favorite. And so I was doing this on the side, nights and weekends, developing this, and I'm thinking, I want to do this full time. I really want to do this full time. Guess what? It was within 2 weeks of me putting that wish out there. Guess what? No more funding. You get to do this full time. Because what I thought is, first thought was, how do I pay the mortgage? I'm on my own. How do I pay the mortgage? I don't know, but I don't care. I am too passionate about getting this information out. I have to do this. I can't do anything else. I have to do this. So I started what I call Brain Insights, with the idea of providing insights into how children's brains develop. So it has grown. I now do presentations across the country. I have developed a series of brain packets from birth to age, up to age 6, and then one on nature and how the brain develops from nature. They're now selling worldwide. I also have them in Spanish, and I'm getting the word out. But it's just still not enough people know this. This being here and hearing people repeatedly talking about the brain and what's happening in the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala and all this. But you guys are the minority. I go do this all over the country, and people that are working directly with children, early childhood educators, elementary, high school, educators all over. The medical community. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to pediatricians, and we should know this stuff. This is fabulous. This is the best thing I've ever heard. So what I tell everyone is my goal is to make this common knowledge on the part of only everyone. That's all. That's all. We need everyone to understand this. We need parents. Of course, we need parents to understand this. It makes their lives easier, their jobs easier as parents. It makes it more of a positive experience when they have this understanding. Samantha and I were talking about this morning. It's all about the brain. All of what we've been talking about is all about the brain. We need to make sure everyone, not only those working directly with children, understand this, but we need policy makers and funders and business leaders and community leaders and general public and voters. We need everyone to understand this, and we can really make a difference and do the prevention from the start. So to finish up, what I wanted to share with you is that what I learned, when I was still working with the family literacy program, I started working on my master's, and I made the comment the other night that I did my master's thesis on self-perception. What happened was a couple different things. A parent in the family literacy program, I told somebody this while here, about this woman that her self-perception changed in an instant. 1 instant, and her life turned around just because she changed her self-perception. So she was the inspiration for my doing my thesis on self-perception. And so when I was let me back up. What the basics of brain development is that it's experience. It's experience that wires the brain. I put in my, one of my early slides in my presentation is a quote from Newsweek magazine that states, it's early childhood experiences that exert a dramatic and precise impact, physically determining how the intricate neural circuits of the brain are wired. All right? That was put in Newsweek magazine in 1996, so that we would all know it. But part of the problem is that terminology, right? And so what I say is, all that is saying is that it's the early childhood experiences that are physically wiring and growing the brain. And so what I'm doing here is representing those experiences. We start with this brain. And certainly there's connections made prior to birth. But as that brain develops and those higher levels of the brain evolve and complete development, through these experiences, we physically grow and develop a brain. And so if we could just get that piece of information out, that people realize these experiences are doing this. But in addition, when I was in my master's program, I was in a small-size group discussion. And it was only the second week of this discussion session. And the professor said to us, well, we are a homogeneous group. I can't tell you how that infuriated me. What do you mean we're a homogeneous group? I'm thinking, I could not listen to anything else she said the rest of the evening. It was just running through my head. And I met with someone after class, and we had to develop a project. And she also said that irritated her. And I said, I'll give you this. We're homogeneous, this group of 15 of us. If you're going to say we are all Caucasians and we're all at this level of education. We weren't even of the same gender. We had males and females. I'll give you only those two. She knew nothing more about us, to be able to say that comment. So we had to develop a project for that class. And this is still running through my head. So I'm going to bed. So I went to bed that night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sleep and showers, right? That's when it happens. 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, wide awake. Snowflakes! What's the deal about snowflakes? Everyone is different. No two alike. Everyone is different. That's what happens with the brain. Every experience we have grows and develops a brain that is different and unique. So this is what we have. This is this represents each of us. Each of us is a unique and beautiful snowflake. Melissa developed this one. She couldn't help it. She saw my paper. She had to do this. All right? So every one of us is a unique and different snowflake, right? But what happens is a lot of what we've been talking about throughout this conference is what happens is we have this beautiful, beautiful pattern, this beautiful snowflake, but there's parts of it we don't like. We don't like this, we don't like that about it. Or other people don't like this or don't like that about it. Or some snowflakes, where did I lose that one? Some snowflakes get crumpled before they even begin. And some snowflakes get crumpled along the way. And so we think these aren't as beautiful or as valuable. And there's parts of that snowflake that we just don't like. So we try to cover that up and hide that and not let those portions show. And we put labels on them. We put these labels on these different parts of our snowflakes. And we say, this is this and this is that. This one's elemental P. I mean, we're doing that all over the place. But the thing is that it's a beautiful, beautiful snowflake. And whatever our experiences have created, or whatever our experiences have been, have created this. So there's nothing, this is only perfect. Only perfect. There's nothing that is wrong with this because it's just who you are. Who we are. You can't, there's nothing wrong. It's just who we are. And we have to value that of every single child and every single individual. And all the beauty that they are, and look at the whole picture. Because you know what that actually does? When we create that pattern, what that actually then does is lets the brilliance of who the essence of that person actually really is. Thank you.